The fourth video of paper one leaves start maths. So last video I just finished on adding sums and fractions, and now we're going to go about how you would multiply fractions, divide fractions, and how you would, when these get a little bit more complicated, what you do. Okay, so we can start off with something not too bad, something like 10b squared over 5a squared. Okay, that looks like a 6. So 5a squared, and multiply by 25. Sorry, I don't know why my 5s are so bad. 5a cubed over 2b. Okay, so when you multiply fractions, you just multiply the top by the top and the bottom by the bottom. It's very simple. So the top by the top, 25 times 10 is 250. b squared times a cubed, I'm just going to write a cubed first because a comes first in the alphabet, no other reason. And then 5 times 2 is 10. a squared b. If I multiply the bottom and multiply the top by the top. Okay? So get this. Now, your 250 divided by 10 is 25. A cubed divided by a squared is equal to a. And b squared divided by b is also just b. So that's your final answer for that. So that's how you do a problem like that. Okay? Now, another way of doing it, which is my personal favorite, and obviously I don't know yet because I haven't made future videos, but when stuff like this comes up in other topics, I will use this method instead. So what you do is you say, okay, what's common to these? So first of all, I can divide 10 and 5 to get a 2. So 10 divided by 5 is just 2. This 2 cancels with this 2. This b squared cancels with that b to give 1. This a squared cancels with that a cubed to give a. So I'm left with 1. Okay? And now, what am I left with? I'm left with a b multiplied by a 25a, which is equal to 25ab. So that's another way of doing it. That all I have is that I can just cancel things out instead of multiplying, because this will become extremely useful in the following examples that I'm going to show you. Okay, so the next example is 4x over 2y divided by 8x cubed over 4y squared. Okay. We hate division symbols. Okay? So you want to change everything to multiplication. So how do you do that? I'll start with a simple example. If I said x divided by 2, that's equal to x over 2. Okay? But x over 2, I can write that as x multiplied by a half. So now notice how this has become this. So what has happened? I changed the dividing by 2 to multiplying by a half. So I can also do is a divided by b is equal to a over b. But I can also write this as a multiplied by 1 over b. Okay, they're the same thing. So dividing by b is the same thing as multiplying by 1 over b. So in this example here, 4x over 2y divided by that is the same thing as multiplying by 4y squared over 8x cubed. Okay? So now, when you have a division in fractions, always change it to multiplication and flip it. So I'm just putting what was on the bottom is now on the top, and what was on the top is now on the bottom. That's all. So now, 4 divided by 2 is 2. I can divide the top and the bottom by 4. That 2 and that 2 cancel. So all my constants just go away. Y squared divided by y is just 1. X divided by x cubed is x squared. So I'm left with, on the left hand side, I'm just left with 1. On the right hand side, I have y divided by x squared, which is just y over x squared. So that's the answer. Okay. So that's how you do those. You just change division to multiplication the whole time. Now, I'll do a quite hard one. So, okay, what's the hardest one that I can see? Yeah, an awful one is this. So it's x all over x squared minus 6x plus 9. All divided by 5 over 3 minus x and x minus 3. Okay? So now you're looking at that and you're saying, whoa, what is going on? First of all, this thing here is the same thing as division. Okay? So what this thing is saying, this is saying we want x over x squared minus 6x plus 9 divided by 5 over 3 minus x minus 3. That's what we want. And you say, okay, fine. How does that help us? Well, the reason that helps us is because that's exactly what we had just a second ago. This. That's exactly what we just had. So now, again, I'm going to change this to multiplication. So I'm simply going to say this thing is equal to x over x squared minus 6x plus 9. I'm changing this to a multiply sign. So it's going from division to multiplication. And because it's changing to multiplication, I need to flip this fraction. So now it becomes 3 minus x and x minus 3 all over 5. Okay, now I'm going to factorize this thing here to see if anything will cancel on the top and the bottom. So x squared minus 6x plus 9. Again, this is 1. The factors of it are just 1 and 1, so it's just x and x. The factors of 9, 1 and 9, 3 and 3. This is plus, which means both of the signs have to be the same, and this is minus, which means both of them are minus. So these are both minus. So what two numbers, when added together, give me 6? 3 and 3. So this is equal to x minus 3, x minus 3. So if I plug that back into our equation above, we get x over x minus 3, x minus 3, multiplied by 3 minus x, x minus 3, all over 5. So, first of all, that x minus 3 cancels with that x minus 3. Now, ask yourself, does anything else cancel there? Again, you can always, I forget, but you can pause this video if you want more time. But the answer is yes. Okay? This thing is equal to minus 1 multiplied by x minus 3. And so this thing cancels with that. Okay, so all in all, I'm left with x over 1 multiplied by minus 1 over 5, which is just minus x over 5. And that then is the final answer. All right, so that's how you do those. And I think that is the easiest out of all those. Okay, I'm sorry that's the easiest way of doing it, or comprehending it, I suppose. So that's that. Now, on to long division, and I think this is the last thing in the chapter. Yeah, so this could be quite a short video, but yeah, so it's just long division. Okay, so I'm going to do I'll probably do 4 examples of long division, and yeah, then once I do those 4 things, I'll do 2 separate ways. So it's whichever way you prefer, but I'll do both ways. So, long division. So, what we have is something like x cubed plus 2x squared minus 7x minus 2, all divided by x minus 2. Now, the first way is kind of the easier conceptual way. You can just learn this off. So what you do is you write x minus 2 here. You put, this isn't the square root, it's just kind of half a rectangle. And then you write what you want to divide in over here. Okay, now, the first step you do this number divided by this number, and you write it up here. Okay? That's what you're going to do. So x cubed divided by x is x squared. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this number multiplied by this, and I'm going to write it down here. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. So you do x squared multiplied by x is x cubed. X squared multiplied by minus 2 is minus 2x squared. Alright? Now, you minus these 2 things from each other. The first one is 0. This will always be 0 unless you've made a mistake here with this. Okay? So the first one will always be 0. The second one could be 0, but it also may not be 0. In this case, it isn't. So 2x squared minus 2x squared. So 2x squared plus, minus by minus is plus, 2x squared, so I get 4. So plus 4 x squared. Okay? Now you bring this down. And now you repeat the process. I'm going to do this number divided by this number. And I'm going to write it here. Okay? So 4x squared divided by x is plus 4x. Now I'm going to multiply this number by this number, and I'm going to write it down here. So 4x multiplied by x is plus 4x squared. 4x multiplied by minus 2 is minus 8x. And again, I'm going to minus these from one another. So again, 4x squared minus 4x squared is 0, as it should be. Minus 7x minus 8x is plus 8x. So minus 7x plus 8x is plus x. Okay? And I want to bring this guy down. Minus 2. Again, you're going to do this number divided by this number and write it here. So in this case, x divided by x is plus 1. And now you don't have to do the step, but this is just a checking step. This number multiplied by this should give you this. And if it doesn't, you've made a mistake. And in this case, it does, which means I haven't made a mistake, which is quite nice. So this is the answer. I'll leave it highlighted in blue. That is your answer. So the answer to this thing up here equals x squared plus 4x plus 1. And that's how you do that. Okay. I'll do another one. So say something like we want to divide 3x minus 1 into 6x cubed minus 29x squared plus 21x minus 4. So this is another one that we do. I'm just going to do it the exact same way. I'll do it a little bit faster because I've already explained all the steps. And stuff like this can only be learned through repetition. So do a couple of questions yourself. The method isn't too hard. Once you learn it off, it's when you're not even learn it off, but because like I haven't learned this off. But the thing is that I've done it so many times. I just know exactly what to do, and I understand what to do, and I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So this now, what I'm getting is, for the first one, you do your 6x cubed divided by 3x is 2x squared. 2x squared multiplied by the thing on the left is 6x cubed minus 2x squared. Okay? Now I'm going to minus these off each other. I get 0. Minus 29 minus 2 is plus 2, so it's minus 29 plus 2, so minus 27. Bring this down. Minus 27x squared divided by 3x is minus 9x. Minus 9x multiplied by 3x is going to be minus 27x squared. Minus 9x multiplied by minus 1 is plus 9x. And again, you minus these off each other. So I get 0. I get 21 minus 9 is plus 12. And then bring this guy down, it's going to be plus 4. 12x divided by 3x is going to be plus 4. Plus 4 multiplied by 3x is going to be plus 12x. Plus 4 multiplied by minus... Sorry, I made a mistake there. This should be minus 4. Because up here, we have minus 4. And therefore here we also have minus 4. Okay, so sorry about that. So plus 4 multiplied by minus 1 is minus 4. And then if I minus these off each other, I get 0 and 0. And therefore this is the answer. Okay? Okay, now that we've done that, another thing that I would like to do, I'll just do one of the other method. This is the method of identities. Okay, so you could have something like this. You could have, okay, sorry, there's one thing that I forgot to mention. In these things, let's just say this was 0, you still leave a gap. Okay, so even if it is 0, you still leave a gap. So I'll just do another one of these quite quickly. So if you have something like 36, if you have 36x cubed minus 28x plus 8 divided by 3x minus 2, you do the exact same thing. You do 3x minus 2 into 36x cubed plus 0x squared. This is extremely important. So even though there isn't an x squared there, you need to act as if there is and just write plus 0. Okay? So now, 36x cubed divided by 3x is 12. X squared, 12x squared times that is going to be 36. X cubed minus 24. X squared. Again, minus it off. We get 0 and 24x squared. Again, minus by minus is plus, and therefore it's plus 24. Yep, that's fine. Whatever. So now 24x squared divided by 3, x is plus 8x. So we get 24x squared minus 16x. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. You need to bring this down. Okay, just remember that step. It's very easy to forget, even I forget at times. So here we get 0. Here we get minus 28 plus 16, so minus 12. And here we have a plus 8. And then I do minus 12x divided by 3x is minus 4. So here what we get then is going to be minus 12x plus 8, which if I minus them off each other, I do indeed get 0. Okay. So that's the other case, that if there's no term there, then you just need to add in a 0, and then you're completely fine. Okay, just to cover yourself. The reason I put a 0 in is specifically so that it'll just give you like space to write your x squared column. That's all. Because if you don't do that, then you won't have space and you're trying to squish it in. It's just, just for practicality, it's easier to give that space there, okay? So yeah, that's that. Now, the other way, if we wanted to do something like x cubed minus 13x minus 12 divided by x plus 1. You can also do this by identities, okay? Now, what do I mean by identities? So, see up here, we ended up with a quadratic. So, you went from a cubic dividing by a linear term to get a quadratic. So, this is to the power of 3. This is to the power of 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. And therefore, this is a quadratic. Okay. Same thing here. We did a cubic divided by a linear term, got a quadratic. Same thing here. A cubic divided by linear gave us a quadratic. So when we're doing this one now, we now know that a cubic divided by linear will give me a quadratic. So this thing is going to equal So it's going to get, okay, so this is just a second method. If you're happy with the first one, then more power to you. You can do that, no problem. There's no need for you to even read this. You can just skip and end this video. This is just an extra thing. So if you know this is going to be the case, then that means that x cubed minus 13x minus 12 must be equal to ax squared plus bx plus c multiplied by x plus 1. Okay, now, on the right hand side, the only cubic terms that can arise are when you multiply ax squared by x. And the only time you get a constant is when you multiply your plus c by your plus 1. So this is going to be ax cubed plus c plus other things. But for the minute, I can figure out what a and c are. By identities, the only x cubed term on the left, there's one of them, and there's only one x cubed term on the right, which means those two things have to equal, and therefore a must equal 1. Because if A wasn't 1, if A was 2, then we wouldn't have equality. The same thing here. This is the only constant term, or the term that doesn't contain an x. And this is the only constant term over here. And therefore, C has to equal minus 12. Okay? And then the other method, the only other thing you need to figure out is how to get this bx from this minus 13. So what you do is you say, okay, on the right hand side, what x's will I get? So the only way I can get an x is if I do my bx multiplied by a plus 1, which will give me bx. Sorry. Will give me a bx. But also, I will get a linear term if I multiply this by this. Because I get an x as well. So it's plus cx. So this equals b plus c multiplied by x. And this must be equal to minus 13x. Therefore, b plus c has to equal minus 13. That means that b minus 12 equals minus 13, and therefore b equals minus 1. So those are your answers, and therefore the answer is going to be x squared minus x minus 12. That's the final answer. Okay. So yeah, that wraps up Algebra 1. The next thing is going to be solving equations, solving linear equations, and so on and so on. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll finish it there. Thanks.